the third day of Christmas, RobTop gave to me Sakureta by Mzsty and more, Reta by Dashi and more, and Without You by Newbie Bro and more.
Alright, hell yeah. My mic probably sounds like shit because I don't have my good microphone with me right now. But yeah, we beat the update. That's cool. It didn't take very long because the update really didn't change anything. It just made some parts harder, like 2. It's yeah. The update's supposed to bring it up to like top 800, but like I feel like it really brought the level up like maybe 25 spots, which is, I don't know, a little funny.
Let's make the most of the night like we're gonna die. Heartbeat to the beat of the drums.
I'm a pretty big fan of this level. I don't think anyone is surprised by that. When I first found out about this level 6 months ago, I was pretty impressed, so I made sure I glazed the fuck out of the 15 seconds of finished decoration. To my surprise, my degenerate fanboy behavior got me a playtesting role, which was pretty cool and a unique experience for me. It also led to one of my many displays of immeasurable social awkwardness. In my defense, I was commenting after my 7 AM writing class, which is more detrimental to your psyche than pure cyanide. I bring this up because I'll be extremely dick-ridey throughout the entire video, even more so than usual, because anything I didn't like, I was able to change, unless Quattrocientos changed it first. Apparently I did a shitty job though, because while working on this video, the level got an update. I'll talk more about what changed as it comes up. The gameplay in the pre-drop is pretty cool. There's a few parts that are somewhat learny, but once you figure it out, it's super consistent. The pre-drop is the easiest part by a pretty significant amount, even after being buffed. In my opinion, this is the best case scenario, especially for levels with this gameplay style, where the drop is obviously much more exciting. Levels that force you to spend 1,000 years at the pre-drop are usually super exhausting, so I appreciate when levels go out of their way to give you as many drop attempts as possible. The first half of the pre-drop is one of my favorite parts in the level from a deco standpoint. This part is really bright and saturated, which isn't super unique for glow levels in general, but it's pretty unique for Reta levels, which for the most part don't actually get that bright. Even if the theming is obviously the standard Reta flower style, the brightness and saturation gives it almost a neon vibe. Is that a stupid thing to say? I don't know. I love the floating blocks. This isn't the first level to use them, but they look really cool and make the structuring a lot more interesting. I also fuck with the second layer of 3D. It obviously adds more depth, and reminds you of the cool Minecraft glass building technique. Overall, while this part isn't like genre breaking or anything, it's still noteworthy for being really well executed. Honestly, the sentiment can be pretty much applied to the entire level. I don't mean this as an insult, so don't take this the wrong way, but the second half of the pre-drop is like the industry standard for Reta level parts. You could put this somewhere in Niwa or Mzsty and nobody would be able to tell that it wasn't already there. Again, I don't mean any shade saying this. Milpie was tasked with building a purple Reta level and passed with flying colors. The part does not look bad. The highlight of this section is probably the duel. It seems like the learniest shit of all time, but the timings are open enough that you can just click close enough to the music to be 100% consistent. It flows super well and has really satisfying music representation. Oh shit! It's Japan! I wonder what this says.
I love umamushime.
It's just Sakureta spelled phonetically, which doesn't actually mean anything. Do not tell Person Human, he's gonna be so pissed off.
Mzsty isn't a word. I've always found this level a bit stupid because of that. Like, use words.
Based on my extensive knowledge of the Japanese language, I'm pretty sure Reta is just a past tense suffix, and you can't really use a tree as a verb unless you really try. This obviously isn't that big of a deal since Geometry Dash level names have never had to be comprehensible. Just if you're making a Reta level, if you want its name to mean something, you generally have to put a verb before Reta. The biggest compliment I have for the level's drop is how consistent it is. The entire level is super consistent. After learning the drop, which didn't take super long, I was able to do it consistently in 5 to 20 attempts. While this level is considerably below my skill level, this was more consistent than any level I've played in this difficulty range. And when I could finally beat it, I did a whole practice run and beat it from 0 in 25 attempts. I spent more time from 0 on the fucking weekly demon. The first part of the drop only really had one minor choke point, being the wave and UFO duel. The rest of the level is very straightforward, especially for Reta or even flow levels in general, so this is probably the most confusing part. Again, this was a very minor choke point, and considering how unplayable this part used to be, it's a miracle this works as well as it does. This part was changed in the buff date, and is one of 2 parts that I consider new choke points. In hindsight, it's probably just because they're the only 2 parts with different gameplay, so these were the only parts where my playtesting muscle memory didn't carry. What makes this part stand out to me decoration-wise are the gradient pillars inside the block design. It's a small detail, it isn't the most technically impressive shit of all time, but I feel like they add a lot to this part. Without them, this part would be completely monochromatic and dark, which would make the drop feel underwhelming. I also really fuck with the clouds. Their lighting is really nice. They are unusually bright, but you only really notice when you die between pulses. The next part definitely benefited the most from the buff date. The flaws that I originally listed for this part were the camera controls and the 44% wave that consumed the entire in-game comment section, except for Evelyn. These issues were fixed to be a lot more fair, and now I really don't have any constructive criticism for this part. When the wave is easier, it's actually really satisfying, and the ship holds have an unexplainable level of aura and swag. The decoration in this part is pretty high quality. My favorite detail is the handful of structures held up by trees. I'm a huge sucker for art elements and levels that aren't exclusively art style, and it's obviously a lot more interesting than the standard glow structuring. The block designs are also really detailed and pretty, but you have to just kind of trust me because YouTube turns all the pretty details into a homogeneous sludge. The part alternates between purple and cyan, which would be super cool and really unique for a Reta level if Mzsty didn't do it first. Before the update, this level was very first half heavy. It probably still is, but my opinion isn't really reliable. Besides the new gameplay at 57, all of the buffs seem to match my click pattern, so the second half could just be impossible and I'd be none the wiser. Honestly, this half is probably easier just because there isn't a single wave part after 44, which is the hardest game mode. This is non-negotiable. To an extent, I prefer first half heavy levels opposed to the alternative. Yeah, sure, you obviously spend way more time in the first half, but from my experience, this is magnitudes better than having an impenetrable mind block at like 80% because the creator decided to sample Tidal Wave. As much as I love Kingslayer, I would rather have bottom surgery without anesthetics than have to do the last wave from 0 ever again. The transition out of 44 is one of the better transitions in all the Reta levels. The Reta ship gets kinda close based on aura alone, but there really isn't that much competition. When the vast majority of the level is almost exclusively purple, it's really nice to see the super saturated blue and yellow particles. The particles have really satisfying movements, and the 3D text is super clean. All of this is made even cooler by the camera movements, which make all the movements seem even more animated. It does just say Sakureta again, which is really lame. You could have said something cool like penis. The part after the transition is in my opinion the easiest part of the level. When playtesting, I tried buffing some of the clicks, but the gameplay just became a lot less consistent and unfun, since especially the UFO is extremely setup based. To my knowledge, the update really only buffed one UFO click. There's nothing wrong with having a break part in a level. This part plays around with the speed changes a bit, but it's pretty unique for Reta levels, which are usually at maximum intensity all the way through. It works well here since the song is a lot more relaxed than something like Monster. I really like these block designs. It's close, but it's probably my favorite block design in the level. Again, it's not one of a kind or super unique, but it's executed really well. They did fuck up the 3D on this one structure though, which completely ruins the entire level. Everyone who had any part in this level deserves capital punishment for this catastrophe. I do kind of miss the black portals from earlier previews of the level, though it's a small enough detail that I didn't even notice it was missing until now. But I don't know, I kinda fuck with them. The background is just the trees that are in every Reta level ever, but they look nice and don't distract from the block design. This specific wheel is really cool too. The next part was by far the most altered by the update, having a few extra clicks on top of the slight buffs. I found the double clicks and first few clicks of the UFO a lot harder to pull off than most other parts. There's a very good chance it's just me, since I only practiced this part for like 10 minutes, but these clicks are still measurably tighter and at a much higher CPS than most other timings. My favorite element of this part as a whole is how fast the gameplay moves vertically. It works well with the part of the song with the fastest rhythms and sharpest vocals, if that makes sense. Like the last part, this part has frequent speed changes, but they're faster and more frequent, making the part feel jolty, just like the song. I'm losing my shit over, like, level 2 song rep. I also have to point out this dash orb. If you're an aspiring gameplay creator, remember, a dash orb's coolness is directly proportional to its angle. Congratulations, welcome to Cherry Team. My awkward ass script keeps coming back to song rep. This is the last thing, I swear, but I like how strong the pulses are here. It fits with the intensity of the song. Excellent work, now marry me. The block design has really pretty borders, even if you can only see them half the time. One potential issue I can see with this is that some timings are blind. I'm only calling it a potential issue because I don't have a problem with it. It just made it marginally more difficult, but I can see it being an issue for some people. From the handful of completions I've seen, though, nobody has complained about it yet, so I think I'm just talking out of my ass. The final part's gameplay is a lot more spaced out and flowy, because the song does that. As a result, I found this part to be the easiest part of the drop. You do, obviously, have to deal with nerves though. I'm not sure if I'm making this up, but I feel like the slower, flowier gameplay makes this part feel pretty tense. Of course, the level's still like half a second long, so nerve control isn't that severe. If this level was at least 2 minutes long, this part would have way more aura. It does pick up in difficulty a little bit towards the end, but it doesn't have any fuck you kill yourself clicks, which I am very grateful for. Fun fact, this part used to have an awkward ass coin. I wouldn't consider it bad, it was just weird and forced, and I'm glad they got rid of it. This part was improved a lot right before the final release. Relative to the rest of the level, this part felt pretty underwhelming, being pretty empty and very static. These issues were fixed by giving the background a lot more depth, and adding the aerial gleam lightning. In hindsight, I do miss the old colors. The new version was reduced to pretty much one shade of purple, making the structures blend into the background and appear flat. There's another update planned for this level. To my knowledge, the only thing previewed so far is the new end screen, which looks pretty sick. You've probably seen it already, it was on Daily Dose of GD a bit ago. I love how the background is put out of focus. I'm sure this has been done before a bunch of times, but it's done really effectively here. Overall, I give this level a 9.5 out of 10, which shouldn't be surprising since this entire video has been me kissing ass for 10 minutes. Everything this level tries to do, it does really well. My main criticism though, is that it doesn't really do anything new. At the end of the day, this level boils down to Sakureta, but better, but better, but better, but better. Don't get me wrong, I love Sakureta, so I'm eating good, but I can see how this wouldn't be as appealing to someone who's already seen Sakureta and isn't as autistic about it. For the record, I'm not saying every level needs to be some new experimental masterpiece. At the end of the day, Geometry Dash is supposed to be fun, and if you have fun playing a level, the level's a success. I just feel like Reta levels have a lot of untapped potential. The qualifications for a Reta level are super vague, and when creators break from the original formula, it has proven to produce peak. Difficulty-wise, I'd probably put it near Niwa and Mzsty, kinda making a new trilogy of entry Reta level extremes. That's kinda cool. The update was supposed to push it to top 800, even considering the amount of time I spent playtesting and my sync slop skill set, I really can't see it being that hard. Based on how long I take to edit, that's like almost Aftermath. To be fair, it's pretty crazy that Aftermath is this low now. Here's a clip of Zoink reacting to Spectre's placement.
You're 14? You look like you're 10!
I feel like Sakureta would make a pretty good first extreme if you like this more than Niwa or Mzsty. Reta sloppers have a ton of options these days. Alright, that's all I got. Goodbye.